Hi, everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about design thinking. Denise hit the high points in her presentation, but I'm going to dig a little deeper into these class readings. I'll refer to these articles as DAM, Bears Dev, and the Streams article. Design thinking is a non-linear, iterative process. The stages aren't always sequential. They can occur in parallel or loop back onto each other. So they should be understood as different modes that contribute to the entire project rather than sequential steps. Information acquired in later stages of the process can inform repeats of earlier stages. Design thinking brings together a lot of material we've covered in the class so far. So much of this description will sound familiar to you. The modes of DT identified in the DAM and Bears Dev articles are listed on this slide. The main goal of the empathize mode is to develop the best possible understanding of the users and their needs or problems related to the product or service. You can increase understanding of user pain points with user-centric research like field studies, user personas, or user experience maps. The main goal of the define mode is to combine observations from research and create specific user-centric problem statements. One point I want to emphasize from the Bears Dev article is that failing to clearly define problems in a user-centric way risks derailing the framework, quote, because business goals overshadow the user's needs, unquote. The goal of the ideate mode, according to the Streams article, is, quote, generate a range of crazy creative ideas, unquote. You should try to look at the problem from different perspectives, challenge assumptions, and generate new ideas that address your specific problem statements. For prototyping, the goal is to identify the best possible solution for each problem, build real tactile representations for a range of ideas, produce different versions of the product or its features. In the test mode, the goal is to get as deep an understanding of the product and users as possible. Test the prototypes with users in moderated testing sessions to get feedback and identify needed improvements. Results of testing will often require redefining problem statements or surface problems that haven't been considered. Please notice on the graphic here that the authors, the Nielsen-Norman group, include an implement mode, which the DAM and Bears Dev models don't. This graphic demonstrates visually how the different modes relate and can inform each other. For example, the test phase can impact the empathize, define, or ideate modes, and encourage the team to repeat those processes with new information. Here are examples from the Bears Dev article of product teams that use design thinking in UX or product development processes. Please note that these examples come from large corporations, and all of these projects are commercial in nature. I'll come back to that in just a bit. Here are some of the benefits of design thinking for UX according to Bears Dev. Like so many topics in tech, there's a lot of enthusiasm. You could even say hype about design thinking. Words like innovation, efficiency, radical, and creativity get used a lot. For example, these quotes from the Streams article use some exciting words and make some pretty strong claims, which I've underlined. In more recent research, some problems and criticisms of DT have emerged, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that so we can learn from those situations. Here are two articles I considered, and you should have the links or PDFs attached to the discussion if you want to explore them yourself. The Forbes article, The Challenges Posed by Design Thinking and How to Overcome Them, describes research on DT, claiming design thinking implementation in organizations has enjoyed mixed results and several challenges remain unanswered. The article's main critiques are that design thinking fosters expressions of emotion that might be considered inappropriate in some cultures and business environments. That pressure to get results in a relatively short time has negative consequences on implementing qualitative long-term design thinking policies. And that design thinking promotes a rule-breaking attitude to boost autonomy and instills a feeling that anything is acceptable in order to increase creativity. This attitude conflicts with work environments where control is tight and concentrated at the top of a hierarchical organization with formal rules and procedures that guide behavior. The article suggests that workarounds should be considered for these obstacles based on the context in which DT is being applied. The MIT Technology Review article, Design Thinking Was Supposed to Fix the World, Where Did It Go Wrong?, goes further in critiquing problems rooted in the lack of contextual understanding of many DT practitioners, particularly for public sector projects. According to one critic, the biggest design problem in civic tech is not generating new ideas, but figuring out how to implement and pay for them. Remember how we saw that the examples from the BearsDev article were all commercial projects. The article points out that the implementation stage is missing in many versions of the DT process. Remember that from the DAM and BearsDev class readings? And that brainstorming sessions, while generating a lot of energy and enthusiasm, often didn't lead to built products or really solutions of any kind. It echoes the Forbes article in citing difficulties with time pressure. There's a mismatch between the short cycle evaluations in commercial design and the long cycle evaluations for policy. The article provides an example of some very concrete problems with one particular design thinking team's recommendations for a public sector project. Quote, recommendations did not take into account the complexities of the district's operations and the effort it could take to even drill a hole in a wall in accordance with asbestos abatement rules. The vending machines the team proposed, for instance, would need a stable internet connection, which many target locations didn't have. And the app never came to fruition as it would have required a whole new department to continually update the software and content. Perhaps most importantly, the article reports on the work of researcher Lily Irani, who questions the assertions, such as those in the Streams article, that design thinking, quote, requires designers to advocate for user needs, challenge social injustice, and use their power in the workplace to manifest positive social innovation. In contrast, Irani states that, quote, as an outgrowth of Silicon Valley business interests and culture, design thinking situated Western and often white designers at a higher level of labor, treating them as mystics who could translate the efforts and experiences of lower level workers into capitalistic opportunity. The article provides helpful suggestions and examples of changes in how DT is implemented in organizations in response to critiques like these. I hope this overview of the strengths and challenges of the design thinking process was interesting, since, in my opinion, we can benefit from understanding and applying these insights to our final project. My question for discussion is, thinking of the artifact you've chosen for your final project and the problems design thinking encountered in organizations, what business reasons might be contributing to the problems you've identified? What might be some institutional obstacles for implementation for the recommendations or solutions you're considering? Thank you.